Well, good morning to all of you, that vast crowd out there. What we're going to do today in the next hour is we're going to hit on the key components of the gradebook, which at first glance is daunting, but then after first glance and with a little bit of training today, we're going to simplify as much as possible. What I don't want to do, I don't want to get you involved in the frills and all the the extras of the gradebook. I want to get you what you need in order to get your job done, okay? And once we use those components in the gradebook, which are really not that difficult to use, I think you're going to find it quite manageable and actually quite powerful too, okay? How many of you have used or are using the Moodle gradebook? Anybody? Priscilla, how are you finding the gradebook so far?
Time consuming.
Time consuming. In which way? Is setting it up or using it or both?
Just grading the students is taking forever because it kind of has to load for every student.
Oh, yeah.
I can't grade them all at once. That's the problem.
I can show you a trick to do that. So yes, there is a way. So we have one user, one taker so far, okay? Hopefully we'll have some more that will take advantage of it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to work with a course. You can log into your own accounts. You can use your own sandboxes for practicing, okay? I'm not going to make you students because I'm going to show you the student view. I'd much rather have you try, listen, do whatever you feel is comfortable. I'm not very into, streamlining law and order when we do these things. I want you to go with where you feel your comfort level is when it comes to learning this stuff, because everybody's got a different level. I have a sample course here, which is similar to your sandbox courses that I kind of threw together pretty quickly. And every course, as you know, if you haven't figured it out already, just like in Blackboard, has a gradebook, all right? Before you even approach starting to work on your gradebook, what do you think is, in your mind, just like it was in Blackboard, what do you have to have in your brain clear before you start working with your gradebook?
What your grading scheme is?
Right, what your methodology is for how you're going to grade these students. Because Blackboard offered a bunch of options, Moodle has a million options. Thank God we've got it scaled down to two to three, okay, the most popular ones. Two of them which are always used, and one which is kind of like an addition because it helps a little extra credit capability to work too. And I'll explain more of that. So essentially what happens here is that you've got methods that you have to be concerned about. The two main ones that Moodle employs is the sum of grades method, and the other one is the weighted mean of grades. All right? Now, convert that into Blackboard terms. Sum of grades is the old-fashioned total points method. What does total points mean? All right, every assessment, you know how you assign every assessment a total number of points. It could be 100 points, it could be 50 points, it could be 30 points, whichever you prefer. And each of those assessments, when you add them up, come up to a total number of points, right? So let's say 1,000 points, 2,000 points, whatever. And then each student takes their assessment, gets graded, and the grade, which is, let's say, 90 out of 100, 20 out of 30, 14 out of 15, all add up on their side. Whatever their total is, divided by the total number of points, gives you the grade. That is one grading method, extremely simple. It does not factor in what?
Weighting.
Very good. Does not factor in weighting. If you're going to do weighting, which is probably the most common method by which we grade, we're going to use the weighted mean of grades, which is what I'm going to focus on. I'm going to emphasize today. Sum of grades, if you want me to go over, anybody going to plan to use sum of grades in their grading? Total points method? Pretty much you're going to weight things. In other words, you're going to set up categories of things, quizzes, homeworks, tests, papers, exams, whatever the case may be, you're going to create categories. Does that make sense? When you give out a syllabus, don't you kind of indicate that at the beginning of the syllabus? Certain things have a certain weight, okay? Well, that's what weighted mean of grades is all about. And that's what I'm going to focus on because it's the more complicated of the two, and it's the most common. Make sense? Okay. That being said, let's dive in. I'm going to show you, as I like to do, I like to kind of go inside, outside. I like to kind of show you a partially created gradebook, and I'm going to finish creating it and let you see what the settings look like now and what they will look like once you've got it all set up. As in Blackboard, when you created assessments, created discussion boards, assignments, quizzes and tests, it automatically added that column into the gradebook. Same goes for Moodle. Whatever you decide to be graded in one of these activities, it will automatically occur in the gradebook also. Now, you may need to tweak it as far as what its weight's going to be and all that kind of thing, but it does add it to the gradebook. You also, like in Blackboard, have the option of manually adding a column in the gradebook. So why is it like that? Well, as you know, many institutions have Blackboard or an LMS for all their courses. So you have a teacher instructing a course, students pass in a handwritten piece of paper, teacher grades the paper. Well, how are they going to get the grade in the gradebook? Well, they have to create a column in the gradebook in order to apply that grade. That's why the manual grade or add a grade column feature is there, just like it was in Blackboard. So that option exists. Everybody with me so far? All right, so we're not talking rocket science. This is all pretty familiar to us. It's really all about learning how this particular tool works, okay? All right, well, if I wanted to get to the gradebook, help me out here, what do you think I should be clicking on this page? What would you click?
Ooh.
Yes, yes, Don.
Grades?
Very good. Boy, this is, I'm breaking a sweat here already. This is really killing me. All right, so we're going to click on that little, and by the way, I have my editing on, okay? That'll be important at certain points, and I'll show you why. Because let's say let's do it right now. I shut my editing off, okay? Oh, I'm sorry, I just turned it on. Now I have all of my boxes. He says, oh my God, what a mess of things here. Why don't we dissect this page a little bit? How does that make sense to you? Let's take a look at what this page is all about. All I did, by the way, is I just turned the editing button on. And a whole bunch of things just kind of popped up. Well, you're familiar with some of these things, I would hope. We're familiar with a roster. You know, we're familiar that these might be, could be, probably are assessments. All right, so we're okay so far, right? Nothing unfamiliar. Total, all right, so it's going to be some kind of aggregation. It's going to be some kind of accumulation. So I'm good with that. What you see in the gradebook is some repetition. For example, up here, what you see up here, a lot of it is all placed in these tabs, okay? It's a convenience thing. Could it be shut off? Yes, but I'd have to pay a lot of money for that to happen, okay? Moodle likes to do some things redundantly sometimes. So make your choice. Either use your pull down or use your tabs. Either one's going to get you to the same place. So don't be concerned about that. So already we've cut our work in half because we've got redundancy. Okay, let's look at the top set of tabs, and then we'll work our way down. We've got categories and items. This is probably the most important item when it comes to building the gradebook, right? Unlike Blackboard, which kind of puts it all into one area, Moodle kind of splits it up, where you build the gradebook in one grid, and then you enter the grades in another grid. Although you can enter grades, just so you know, in Moodle, not just on the grid. You can also enter them in the particular assessment. We'll take a look at that, all right? But this is where you build all your weighting. This is how you put things into categories. And we're going to spend some time on that, okay? Scales. These have to do with different rubrics and assessments that have been placed globally into the system. This one here, separate and connected ways of knowing, just make believe it doesn't exist. However, we did create a scale, and who was this for? Do you remember? It was Melody Lee, who needed a scaling rubric for her discussion boards, and we created this global rubric which everybody can use, based on a point scale. You know, 20 is, 15 to 20 was excellent, and 11 to 15 was good, all that kind of thing, all right? So those are what scales are all about. You can apply these to rubrics. This here is set globally also. These are the grade equivalent values of percentage to letter that the college uses now. So that means when things are starting to calculate in terms of numbers and percentages, it's all automatic. You don't have to.
Did you find out? What did you just give?
Comes from the college catalog. Oh, it's under scales, I'm sorry. Letters. We're on the main set of tabs at the top, okay? Now, can you edit this? Yes. Does your department have the freedom and capability of editing it? I'm not sure. That's not my decision to make. I'm just showing you what exists, okay? What I can tell you is that these are the default settings for the college, so you don't have to worry about setting these. Great. One less thing I got to do again. See how easy this is? Import, export. If I wanted to export my grades to an Excel sheet, and you can do your grades offline on an Excel sheet, and then you can import them back into the gradebook and have them populate into the grade center, the gradebook. You can do that. Okay, so import, export. I'm not even going to click on export. The settings, these are the general settings for your gradebook. 99% of the time, you're not going to touch this, so don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. So on your little notes that you take in there, Paul says don't worry about it. Believe me when I tell you. Worry about the important things, okay? And I'll tell you when something's important. Preferences. Again, 99% of the time, you're not going to touch this area. So don't concern yourself with it, okay? But what we are going to concern ourselves with, and I'll go back because I want to make sure you get the full view again. You'll see the Joule Gradebook, which is, remember this, Moodle is this free open source LMS. We are contracted with a company called Moodle Rooms, which by the way was just bought by Blackboard. I thought you didn't want to know this. Blackboard bought out Moodle Rooms. Those greedy, anyways. The fact is that Moodle Rooms is a company that supports a number of clients who use Moodle. They also have their own layer of Moodle that they drop on top of the Moodle system, which they call Joule. Somebody's going to find out what the word Joule means, make it do a Google search. But the Joule Gradebook is another layer that they add to the Gradebook to make your life a little bit easier. And we'll use some of that in a little while. Outcomes report, ignore it, not important. Overview report is kind of nice because when you click on Overview report, it allows you to pick your course and then select a user. So let's say you're teaching a whole bunch of courses and you get whatever person in whichever course, you can actually pull up the particular grades for that particular student. An overview. User report allows you to bring up all the users in the course. So if I select all my 5 users in this course, I can see all of their grades by user. And it gives you the assessment in a row, it gives you the range, it gives you the actual grade, and gives you their actual average. Okay? It's kind of nice. And you'll see how that gets used in a couple of minutes. What I need to focus on right now with you, which is the most important part in setting up the gradebook, is categories and items. All right? That's where we're going to spend our time right now. Everybody with me so far? So I just kind of gave you a smattering of what goes on that main page. But this is where you start when you're building the gradebook. When does one start to build the gradebook? Build it right away, when you're building the course. So you've created a whole bunch of content. You've added a whole bunch of assessments, graded discussion boards, and so forth. Well, as you're adding all these graded items, they're getting added in here automatically, right? So at some point, as you're doing all of this creation, and usually with me it's at the very beginning, I'm going to walk into here and I'm going to start setting up my weighting, my categories, and so forth. All right. In this particular gradebook, we're looking at the simple view as opposed to the full view. Well, if I click on the full view, all I'm going to get is some more stuff. And as you can see, because of the resolution of the screen, I'm not getting everything. If you have a wide screen at home, you will see all of this in one view. Now, I'm going to tell you some things about this view. And there are some things I just want you to just close your eyes to because they're not important. See what I'm doing? I'm honing down what you need to know. There are some things you just do not need to know right now. You just don't need to use because they are not important and they don't factor into your grading. Okay? And let me start over to the far right. Okay? The actions area may be important because you may need to move something. You may need to edit something. You may need to hide something. You may need to lock something. So that's an important column. The ones that you want to just ignore: offset, multiplicator, drop the lowest for the most part. You're not going to deal with it. Aggregate, including subcategories, you will use. Aggregate only non-empty grades, you will use. Max grade, weight, and so forth to the left, you will use. But this, drop the lowest, multiplicator, offset, just make believe they don't exist. They're really, if you want to get into advanced grading and you're a mathematician, go ahead and use them. Okay? I'm not going to explain them here because they're not worth your time. They really don't help you for what you need to do. This is a case, Jack, where you're right. They throw in the kitchen sink here. I cannot shut that off, no matter how hard I try, unless I pay a lot of money and have this customized. All right? They seem to think that it's important to have it there. I can tell you right now, it's not. That being said, let's work with the simpler side, okay? The folder that you see at the top here, and that's a folder icon, it's a little bit deceptive. All that really is telling us is that that is the name of my course. Whatever the name of your course is going to show up there, right? If you're looking at your own courses right now. So don't get thrown by this folder. What it really means is that it's the overarching category. It's the main category, which is the course, okay? In this particular course in Gradebook, I've got X number of assessments. Now take a look at the icons next to them. This icon here, sample assignment, you'll see it's the little clipboard icon. That's the Moodle icon for assignment, okay? I've got two of them here. One which was automatically created when I created the assignment in the course, and then one that I just, a few minutes ago before we started, I created online text assignment. Second one I just created, this is one where you have to submit a file. This is one where you have to type in the text to submit the assignment, all right? Then I've got this quiz, which is like a piece of paper with a check mark, right? I have two of those here, which I created in the course, automatically added the items to the gradebook. And then I have a manual item that I did by adding a grade column. Remember I talked about adding a grade column manually? That's the little icon they use for that. I have, therefore, 5 assessments in this particular course, this little test course that I built for you, okay? Now, if you're looking at all of those 5 assessments, look at them closely. You've got 2 assignments, 2 quizzes, and a manually graded item. Now, you could say to yourself, gee, can I update manual item number 1 and give it a more descriptive? Let's say I want to change that to homework. Can I do that in Moodle? Yes, I can. I can scroll all the way over to the right, and just like on the main page of Moodle, I can click on that little hand with the pencil, the editing, and I can change it right here. Make sense? I'm going to call it homework number 1. Now, in this particular section here, just like everything else, Moodle gives you a whole list of things to look at. And I'm like, what do I do with this? Nothing to be upset about, okay? Look at what I've got here. This works with what I've got. The item name, homework number 1, which I just renamed. Item information, ID number, don't concern yourself. That's all for advanced grading. As you can see, I've got it empty. The grade type is a value. It's a number. The scale, we're not scaling here. The maximum grade that I have set up for this is 100. The grade to pass, or the minimum grade, is 65. Now, I put the 65 in there myself. Usually it's set to 0. What's nice about using the minimum to pass is that if a student gets below that 65, on my gradebook it's going to turn red. If it's above the 65, it's going to be green. So I tell everybody, set this minimum grade. I'm sorry. I did this wrong. Bear with me. It's grade to pass. The minimum grade should be 0. Bear with me. That was a little mistake there. The grade to pass is 65. Okay? I could make the minimum grade 20. I could make the minimum grade 30. Doesn't matter. But grade to pass, that's where you see the red. That's where you see the green. Sorry about that mistake. Grade display type, we'll leave it at default, which is the real value. Decimal points, so 65.22, 95.30. Default is 2 decimal places. And I want this to be visible, so I'm not going to hit the hidden box. But what's nice about these particular columns is that I can hide them, and then I can hide them until a certain point, and then they can become visible. This is really helpful when you're correcting a whole bunch of assignments that students passed in, and you don't want to post all the grades in one shot. This here, you might want to just have it so that at a certain point, all of the grades show up once I'm finished grading all the assignments. Or once the week has passed, boom, the grade shows up. Otherwise, they won't see the grade. It'll just have a blank line in their grade book on the student view, which is great, okay? Locked means if I have assignments that allow multiple attempts and multiple auto gradings, like in quizzes or things like that, if I lock it, the first attempt or the only one attempt is the one that is accepted. If a student reattempts a test, reattempts something and gets another grade, the lockout means it will not change the grade. Okay? When and how and if that would be used would be at your discretion. Normally it's left off.
So it shows it, but it doesn't factor it in, or they can't even submit it?
Whatever the grade they got the first time and the only time is it. So if they took the quiz, they got an 85, then they have a second attempt and they get a 75 or a 90 or 100 or whatever, it's still at the previous grade. That's what the lockout means.
Do you get to see their second and third?
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Yes, you do. You'll see it, but it won't factor. Okay? And you can lock after a certain point too. Okay? Item weight is something I'm going to explain in the next page. Let me save those changes. How is everybody doing so far? Everybody with me? Okay. So the only real thing I've done here so far is I just renamed this manual assignment. Okay? Now, the aggregation method by default is the weighted mean of grades. Excellent. That's what we're using in this particular course, weighted means. If I needed to separate those 5 assessments into categories, what categories would you create here in this particular course? What do you think I should create for categories out of these 5 assessments? So I want to separate these by quiz, homework,
And
assignments. I've got 2 assignments, I've got 2 quizzes, and I've got a homework. So I want to take all of my quizzes and put them into the category, very good, red star, into quizzes. I want to take all my assignments and put them into the category of assignments, and I want to take all of my homeworks and put them into the, or if I have exams, whatever the case is, I can create as many or as few categories as I like. Okay? You say, well, what would be the question that would follow at this point? Gee, Paul said I can create categories. So what your question should be?
Can we weight by category?
Yes. But in order for me to do that, I need to create the category.
Oh.
Makes sense, right?
That was your
Okay.
question.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see if we're all awake here. Okay. And you can see when I scroll down, what do we have here? So we saw already add grade item in Blackboard, add grade column, add grade item. Now we're going to add category. All right? Click. Oh my God, this is so impossible. I don't know if we'll ever get this learning. Oh my God. I'm going to call this quizzes. Okay? I'm not going to touch anything else. I'm going to leave it alone. I want this to be simple. Now, do we all see a category called quizzes? Now, Don said we need to create 2 more categories. Well, why don't we do that at the same time? Let's create one called homework. That's all I'm doing. I'm just typing in the name of the category and hitting Save Changes. That's it, and it's going to work. One more category. I think Don said assignments. Save changes. Now you see what's happening here? We've got these 3 categories, and that's great. Now, looking at it visually, just look at that board for a second, okay? Okay, I see those 3 categories, and that's cool. Now, what looks a little bit off here? Still staying, I'm not even looking at this part. On the left here, everything over here. This looks okay, but it looks like it's not right for some reason. Why doesn't it look just right? What's funny about this so far? I've got the assessments, I've got the categories, but I haven't done another step that might make it look even a little bit better, that would make more sense. What would make more sense in that section to make it more right?
Move the items into the categories.
Make sense? These poor little items up here are sitting up here in...
They're orphaned.
They're orphaned. They're like, I got no category. So they need to be in a category. So you say to yourself, okay, I need to get, therefore, Chapter 1 quiz and quiz number 1, 2, 3 into the category of...
Quizzes?
Tricia, oh my gosh, I'm telling you, that's 2 gold stars for you today. Beautiful. I'm just trying to reemphasize that this is not rocket science when you think about it. There's a bunch of steps, yes, but it's not rocket science. So, being that I have a very limited resolution here, I have to be careful when I pick this because I got to scroll all the way over to the right now. So I got to do this, right? And then I'm going to do this. There we go. These two items here, this one and this one, I'm going to check the boxes. Okay? Then I'm going to scroll back and, oh my gosh, move selected items to. And where do you think I should be moving those items to? Quizzes. Watch what's going to happen. Okay? Aha! We are shaping up here. We have now moved quiz 1 and 1, 2, and 3 into the category of quizzes. All right, everybody with me so far? All right. Now I need to move homework number 1 into the homework category. This is assuming, by the way, I'm going to have more than one homework. I'm going to have a number of them. So I'm going to take that box there, select that, drag back over here, drop it into homework. Beautiful. And now I'm going to take those 2 assignments at the top here, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to select them and move them to assignments. Once I'm done all my moving, I'm going to hit at the bottom. Here's an important little button you want to click every so often. Save changes at the bottom. Okay? Okay. The moral of the story is, after you've got your assessments, by the way, this is as you're building the gradebook, get the categories built, and then get them into the appropriate category. Okay? So this is great. We've got weighted mean of grades, and you notice, by the way, each category that you create, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, you have the ability to change the aggregation for that particular category. So I could change this for all the homeworks, instead of them being factored in as weighted means, they could be factored in as sum of grades. So I can actually interchange aggregation methods within the gradebook. Normally, do people do that? No. So don't be concerned about that. That's advanced. We're getting into the advanced. I don't want to get into that. Now, we've done this part real well. We've got things categorized. We've got the aggregation set up correctly. Now, why don't we just keep moving over here to the right? Well, if you're looking at the numbers under the weighted column, I see an issue here. How are we going to fix what's going on here? What have not we done at this point? We've applied the categories. We've moved them into the appropriate category. We haven't set the weighting. Okay? Now, in this particular course here, I just happen to have 3 categories. How many categories should I have in my course? Well, it depends on how you have your syllabus set up. It depends upon how you have your assessment set up and so forth. In my little training course here, I have 3 categories. But that's only a little training course. The moral of this story is, if I'm going to use weighting and I need to apply weights to them, logically, what do you think those weights should add up to? 100%. Yes, 100%. Therefore, I'm going to apply the weights, making sure that they add up to 100%. So, in this case here, my quizzes are going to be worth 34%. I'll put 34.0. Moodle will do it automatically anyways, make it a 0.0. My homework is going to be worth 33%. Okay, and that's what this means, percent. And you notice I'm in the blue boxes here, right? Now, if the first 2 categories of 34 and 33 respectively, right, everybody with me? What would be the third category's value? What percent? 33. Because that 33 will make it add up to 100. Save changes. Now, you say now, Paul, I see some other numbers in the weight column. What do those numbers mean? And this is where people get thrown the most. So now I'm going to give you the answer, the simple, down, dirty answer. These numbers that you see here, okay, represent their weight in relation to each other within that category. What does that mean? I'm going to make it real simple for you. In this particular case, in the quizzes category, we've got 2 quizzes. Let's say I had 3 quizzes. Let's say I had 4 quizzes. Let's say I had 5 quizzes. And they all had a weight value of 1. That means that every one of those assessments, in this case, 1.0 and 1.0, they all equal each other within that category. The weight of each of those quizzes is the same. If I wanted quiz chapter 01 to be worth twice as much as the other quiz, what do you think I'm going to do here? I'm going to put 2.0. It's that simple. That's all that number means. Now, are you going to be changing this number to be more than 1 most of the time? No. Most of the time, you're going to leave it at 1. In other words, most of the time, everything in the category is going to be equal weight. So you want everything, all the quizzes, to be the same weight in regard to the quiz percentage of the entire grade. But I can change it. I can give something in its own category more weight. I could also make this 1.5 times the weight. I could do that too. I could do decimals. All right? Now, that being said, let's say I leave it at that. What's happening down in the assignments that I need to fix? Take a look. I'm in the weight column. You got a 0 there. Online text assignment has a weight of 0. All right? Well, I want it to be the same weight as every other assignment. So what number am I going to put there? 1.0. Well, I could put 1. When I hit the save button, Moodle's going to turn it into 1.0. Okay? Now, I just saved it. Technically, right now, your gradebook is ready. We're just going to look at 2 more columns just to make sure everything's happy. And this would be the aggregation. Okay? Aggregate only non-empty grades. You want to make sure that for every category, those boxes are checked. If they are not checked, what do you think is going to happen to those categories? It's going to treat the grades as what?
0.
0. Very good, Jack. With them checked, that means if there's any assessment that the student has not completed, rather than treating it as 0, it's going to treat it as null, nothing. So therefore, a student will not be penalized for not having completed an assignment yet. That's all that means. Nothing to be nervous about. The moral of that story, check all the boxes. Aggregate including subcategories. Read the little help information on this. It says, this setting determines whether grades in subcategories are included in the aggregation. Okay? Technically, quizzes, homework, assignments are subcategories to the main category of the course. What is the moral of this story again? To make your life easy and painless, just check the boxes. And then save changes. So in the aggregation columns, make sure any box that you see there is checked, and you'll be fine. Okay? We have now successfully set up our gradebooks. Now we can go nuts with creating assessments, grading assessments. I want to get into the assignment technology and how that gets graded and where you can grade it. All right? Because I said before you can grade in different areas. Before I get to that, though, I did want you to see this, which is still part of the grades area. If I click on grades and I click on Joule Gradebook, all right, in this particular view here, I have the ability to add the grade quickly, right? If I go over to the student and click on that little note piece of paper icon, I could do what's called the row grader. And if I had all of these assessments live and ready to go, it would allow me to quickly grade all these assessments by student. Okay? I don't particularly find it very helpful, but it exists. But it also gives me the ability to send a message to the student. Okay? and it will send a message to their Moodle message area, okay? So if you wanted to send a message to a student within the gradebook, this would be nice. I just wish it would give us more things. Like, in other words, if you did this, give me the ability to attach a grade and throw a comment in, hey, you got a 65 on this because, you know, such and such. All right? If I wanted to just bring up all the quizzes, I could just click that category of quizzes. If I wanted to do column grader, see what I just did? Priscilla, this is what you were talking about before. If I wanted to grade everybody in the same shot, all I have to do is go up to the column total, the column header, click on this, go to column grader, and it brings up everybody's on the roster, right? And you can grade boom, 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 chapter 1 quiz, or whatever the thing is you need to grade.
Is that good for discussions too?
Yep. If you wanted to grade from here, yes. Correct. Now, let's do this. Let's log in as the student, and let's see what the student sees, and let's have the student submit something for grading, all right? What I'm going to do here is, let's say I'm just going to open up this Word file here. Okay, I'm going to keep that open for a moment. No, I don't want to do that. Do you want me to keep that open? Is that all right? Yeah. That doesn't mind? Okay. I'm going to log out, and I'm going to go in as a student. Okay. And once I'm in, I'm going to go to my course. So I'm the student right now, okay? And you can see what the student sees on the far left. They see grades. So this is what their gradebook is going to look like. All right? Now, you'll see homework 1, which is a manually graded item. Online text assignment, these are all hyperlinks, right? If I click on the hyperlink, it's actually going to bring me right to the assessment. I could also, as student, go back to the course and go here. That'll bring me to the same spot. All right? Now, add submission. This is an online text assignment where the student actually types in, not submits a Word document, not does any kind of attachment. They actually are going to type in the text here as their assignment. That's one of the features, one of the 4 types of assignments, actually 5 that you can use in Moodle. Well, I'm just going to, just for the sake of argument, let's make believe that this is a real homework assignment. I'm just going to, and by the way, if you want to get into a good practice with the students when they do online text assignments, you might want to say to them, okay, do your assignment in Word, run your spell check, run your grammar check, and then copy and paste into the text area in Moodle. That's a good practice. Okay? So Control-C for copying. Right. Thank you. Okay? Let's assume that that's the right one. And I'm happy with this. I'm submitting it. Okay? Changes have been saved. Student submits their assignment. They can view their submission. Okay? Just to make sure it's right. I'm going to go back in as me, the instructor. Okay. Gradebook. Okay? As the instructor, there's a couple of ways in which I can get to this assignment. I can actually go to the assignment, click on it, and then view submitted assignments. And when I do that, I'm going to get the roster and anybody who has submitted an assignment up to this point. If I click on the hyperlink here, it's going to show me a picture of their assignment. If I click on grade, it's going to give me their assignment and then the grade that I can apply. I'll be somewhat generous. And I can provide feedback. I can then notify the student that I've looked at it, I've graded it, I've corrected it, I've commented on it. I'm going to hit Save Changes, and you'll see the grade, the comment, the submission, when it was last modified. What time is it right now? 10:52, which is when it was graded. The grade column, and then the final grade. I could have also, if I wanted to, I could have gone to the gradebook itself and done this. So if I go to grades, right, and if I go to categories and items, I could have done this, clicked it on it here. So wherever you see that hyperlink, I can go in and make that grade. Now, I want to show you something else that you're going to find interesting. Notice the view that you've got going on here. And we saw that other view before. When I turn my editing on, if I wanted to enter the grades manually here, I could do that also. So I'm giving a 92 to test student. Okay, it's unlocked, so it should save. Are you hitting update?
Yes.
Okay, let's see what happens. All right, it's saving it there. And let's go to user report. In other words, pull out of this. Okay. That's stuck. There are ways in which you can modify so that you can see letters and percentages, which is nice too. Everybody does theirs differently. Before I hit that, this window that you see here with the editing turned on, there are these little tricks that are really, really interesting that you want to take a good hard look at. For example, these little edit hidden lock buttons, okay? These are helpful when, for example, let's say you wanted to hide quiz 1 until the last minute. If I hit that eyeball there and close the eye, that means that quiz 1 manually right now is not available. The grades are not available to the student until I turn that eyeball back on. So if I hit eyeball right now on quiz 1, see what just, oh, actually this is the entire category I just shut off. I'm sorry, I take that back. If I had done it down here, it would have been different. But in this entire category, look what just happened. All of the eyes are closed. Okay? So be careful with that. It's a nice feature, but be careful with it. But also other nice things come with this. If I click on the entire category, okay, maximum grade, that's that 300 that came up before. If I know, again, this is a manual process. If I knew that the total points of max points in this course was 1,200, I would type in 1,200 here. Instead of it automatically doing it, you have to do it manually. And you could do a minimum grade and so forth. You could actually shut off the whole gradebook right here and hide it to the students. Some faculty'd like to do that. I don't know why. My feeling is the more transparent you are, the better. Let them see everything. And if you're not grading things in a timely fashion and they're complaining, well, maybe you need to step it up a little bit. That's what I liked about the gradebook. It kept me honest. It kept me on track. Because I would get, every so often, you get a student, I didn't see my grade for such and such. I'm like, oof, I better get to this. I better take care of the issue right away. This little icon up here, see this up here? If I want to switch to aggregates only, see that little thing up here? Watch what happens. This is only showing me the aggregate. If I want to switch to grades only, I'll click it again. It's going to show me just the grades without the totals. Okay? Notice no totals at the bottom. If I want to switch to full view, click on it one more time, which is the standard view. I've got everything. Category total and course total. Okay? This is all just a matter of changing your view. Do you need to fool around with that? No. Just so you know that it exists there, fine. Okay? And you can, in the subcategories or in the categories of quizzes, homework, and assignments, you can do the same thing and show the full view, categories view, or grades view only. Okay? When you manually enter grades, as in homework 1, which was one of those things where we passed out a piece of paper, I could put in my grade. And then you might say, well, what is this dotted box all about? Well, believe it or not, that's where the comments go. Could you type comments in there and save them? Yes. You could also drill down and click the edit for that particular grade. And by the way, you see some more cool things here. One of the questions that get asked, how do I exempt a person's grade for a particular assessment? It's done right here. I'll back out of this so you can see how I did that again. How do I exclude a certain grade? So let's say a student got a 65, I want to drop that grade. Okay. I'm going to click on that particular grade's edit, that edit icon, and in here is where I can make any of these changes. Okay? So I can change the grade here. I can exclude the grade. I can hide the grade. I can have it hidden until a certain time. I can, just like I did before. And I can put in my feedback here. So not only can I type my comments in that little dotted box, I can put them in here, save my changes, and as you can see here, kind of gives you the HTML version of it. But you notice when I shut off the editing, okay, that goes away. However, what's really cool here, because I set up this homework grade item, remember I said the passing grade was 65? Well, because this person got a 95, they're in the green. If this person got a 64 or below, that would have been nice beet red. So that's a nice feature to have with you. All right, a couple of minutes after 11, I'm going to stop. Questions? Any questions from anybody here? Now remember, don't feel like now, okay, now I have to go figure this out myself. You've always got help. If you need to sit down with someone individually, there's a whole bunch of us available, which includes me, which includes Don, which includes Therese, which includes Yaz, which includes May. We're all pretty versatile when it comes to the Gradebook. And we're always learning too, but at least we can help you one-on-one if you get a snag. My suggestion would be try to practice with this on your sandbox course because you will forget this. There's a lot of stuff here, simple as it may be. And then let us know if you need anything. We're always here to help you. Okay? Thank you very much, everybody.